Many times over the past several months, I've been returning in my mind to a very simple line from St. Paul's letter to the Galatians, really just a fragment of a sentence. The Son of God, who loved me and gave himself up for me. It's a little curious, I think, that a man who, so far as we knew, never really met Christ when he was in his public ministry, that he would have such an immediate and personal sense of Christ's death on the cross. So that he can say, who loved me and gave himself up for me. But we don't only see this in St. Paul. We see it really in many ways in all the saints. The saints seem to share in common this very strong devotion to Christ's passion. Some of them in an almost over-the-top fashion. Saint Bridget of Sweden comes to mind. But we can also think of St. John of the Cross, St. Teresa of Avila, who have some particular moments, St. Teresa especially, of being struck by Christ's passion. St. Louis de Montfort, who was very devoted to the passion of Christ and to the cross in a particular way. Or even the simple fact that we are instructed when designing and building a church to have a crucifix in every church nearby or on the altar. This tendency to focus on the passion can strike some people, perhaps especially newcomers to Christianity, as being maybe a little bit odd. In some cases, maybe some people would even see it as an unhealthy fixation on suffering. But for the saints, contemplating the Passion, which is something that we do starting today on Passion Sunday or Palm Sunday, but then continue to do throughout Holy Week, is contemplating not so much the raw suffering of Christ, but instead contemplating in a very particular way an act of love, the greatest act of love. This is probably one reason why over the course of the next week, the church's liturgy, which is normally very regular and familiar, very rhythmic, suddenly starts to go a little bit crazy. It snaps us out of that kind of perhaps inattentive or automatic going through the motions of the liturgy. And it's meant to draw us into this moment of contemplation. On Holy Thursday, the contemplation of the Eucharist, God's great gift of himself to the church. And then on Good Friday, in a sense, the actual payment of that gift, the eerie quiet of Holy Saturday, and then the joy of the resurrection on Easter Sunday when we celebrate the great fruit of that act of love, the resurrection of Christ, which in a sense forecasts our own resurrection. It's a complex but a very beautiful string of celebrations in the church's liturgy. And it's good for us to take this time of Holy Week, insofar as we're able, to watch the events of the last hours of our Lord's life here on earth with the same mind, the same spirit that we see in St. Paul and in all the other saints. This contemplative observation of that person whom we love so dearly, that person, Jesus Christ, of whom we can all say with St. Paul, is the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me.